Okay, so I can read things out for you if you want.
Oh, it's so frustrating. There's
Yeah.
no way. I'm just trying to think how we do it. Like, it just means it's really tricky. Okay.
Technology joys.
Oh my God.
Hi everyone, we'll just keep the door open just for another few minutes and let everyone in, and everyone get settled with a cup of tea. Yeah, thank you.
Brilliant. Thanks for spending your evening with us.
Wouldn't be anywhere else.
Is everyone able to chat to everyone, Nicola? I'm just seeing there someone is
They should, yeah.
host and panelists.
Yeah, you should be able to, everyone should be able to work away there, guys.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just making sure that the slides are on. Ailish, you'll just shout when they look like they should look. I'm just trying to figure out this.
Well, when you shared it there, it was all coming up as normal.
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out now if I can get that chat box up. And let me just see how I did that last time.
Oh, brilliant. Someone's just said there, Catherine says the chat is working for us. Super.
Great.
Okay, that's great.
We want participation. That's great.
So Ailish, yeah, sure. If you keep an eye on the chat,
yeah,
that might be the best way to do it, and maybe I can kind of.
You can jump in, and yeah, we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Can you see your Canva though, Michelle? Can you see the presentation?
Okay. Yeah, it's just looking a bit funny, so I'm just trying to get it up now.
Super.
Just give you one more minute, guys. Just go to fly past.
Yeah, sorry, one more minute.
We're letting people in.
Oh, perfect. Why is it looking funny? Okay, so it's 12%. Yeah, percent. Okay, this should be fine.
Super.
Yeah, it's funny how like sometimes these things work and other times.
Yeah, it's look, it's the nice that's in it as well. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah, there you go.
People are saying hello and thanks for hosting.
Oh, so can I just check, Ailish, when I do when I click this, now you can still see the Canva, yes?
Yeah, I can see the presentation and I can.
Okay, that's grand. I actually can kind of flick between tabs, so I'll figure that out.
Oh, perfect, perfect.
Yeah. Okay, brilliant. I'll go back to the start. Okay, brilliant. We're ready.
Are we ready? Okie dokie.
I think so.
And I think we're ready to go with everybody as well. I think we've 100 people in front of us, so that's great. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming on. At this hour of the evening, I'm going to record now very shortly. We will have a recording and you will have a copy of the slides. So there's no need to take notes. We are hopefully you'll definitely have the slides in the next day or two. The recording might take another couple of days, but you will get it before the end of next week, certainly anyway, because our marketing girl isn't in until then. But just kind of a few bits of housekeeping. The chat box is open. You can work away on chat, guys, work away between yourselves, as many conversations. And also, I know Ailish and Michelle are going to use it as part of your connection and your participation of the night. And if you have a question, now hopefully we'll have answered by the end of the session. You'll have answered most of the questions. But if you do have a question, if you put it into Q&A, the girls will actually get it at the end. So I think that's more or less it. I think I'm more or less ready to. Have I forgotten anything, girls?
Sounds good, Nicola. I think you've said it all.
Yeah.
I'm conscious of people's time at this hour of the evening.
Yeah.
So
yeah, perfect. Well, look, I'll start then. So thank you, everyone, for being here this evening.
1 second. I need to record.
Yeah.
I'll pass you over 1 second.
Recording in progress.
Wow.
Okay, great. Well, look, welcome everyone to our Prep for 5th and 6th year webinar. So it's myself, Michelle Murray. I think my name is Michelle Hill possibly on Zoom, but I'm Michelle Murray, and Ailish here, my colleague, and we're occupational therapists from Anchor Therapy. So look, I really appreciate you taking the evening to be here with us, and this is such a big topic that we're probably giving you like little bits of lots of things, but hopefully if there's, more questions people have, you're always welcome to reach out to us, and I can chat to people and give you more information after, if you have more questions. But do use a chat box, because I think it makes it for a richer webinar. So look, just to introduce ourselves briefly at the start. So I'm Michelle. I'm the founder of Anchor Therapy, and Ada's here is my colleague, and she'll introduce herself. And we work face to face online, and we're occupational therapists. So people often say to me, what is an OT and what do you do? A few of you here on the webinar might be familiar with OT. Maybe if you had younger children who've attended OT, perhaps parents or even yourself. But the roles are very different. So our role in Anchor Therapy is we focus with supporting people, young people and adults, with neurodiversity, mental health. And it's all about looking at, how do you function? How does neurodiversity or a diagnosis, a mental health diagnosis, affect your ability to, perform in school, to make friends, to go to work, to be the person you really want to be. So we do that in a really practical approach. So hopefully you'll get more insight into that now tonight. And I'll pass you over to Ailish on that note.
Nice to meet you all, and really delighted to be sharing our evening with you over the next hour. I'm Ailish. My experience is working over the last couple of years in mental health services, and particularly neurodiversity, I suppose, in the last year or two. And I've been working with Michelle at Anchor Therapy now for a couple of years. And it's lovely to be here this evening, and lovely to spend the next while talking about all things school and going back to school and senior cycle. So we'd love to kind of take this opportunity to have a little bit of a get to know you, who is on this call, all the 108 people out there, and see, are you a student? Are you a parent? What's kind of brought you? Who are you? I suppose, are you students or parents? And maybe even in one word, what are some of the challenges that you're facing, or what's the one big thing that might be stressing you out about the year? And as well, we'd love to know if people here have a support person or an SNA in school as well. So we might just hold off a minute here and have kind of a look at some of the stuff that's coming, just to kind of make sure that we're covering everything, and just see what's coming up for people. So couple of parents, focus, concentration, parents procrastination, parent of 6th year, reduce stress for my 17-year-old. Yeah. Senior cycle, organization, making friends, a guardian, addiction. It's a tough one. Focus on study, overwhelm. Sorry if I miss anything. Time management, getting my son to study with a couple of exclamation marks, sleep. Yes, access to an SNA, leaving cert is huge, overwhelm and anxiety, struggling to concentrate and study, school refusal or school canting, which is another way of looking at it. Lots of parents, memory, overthinking, worry, anxiety.
I mean, it's great to know there's a lot of parents, because I know there's people as well, but maybe we can therefore give you strategies as a parent. It's so hard.
I see a student here as well, which is great. See a student here. So lots of similar stuff. And one of the things that we want to kind of see here and show people is that there's lots of students are having some of the similar issues, and there's a lot of similar stuff is coming up for people. So a lot of people are struggling with some of the same things. So people, young people aren't alone, and you as parents aren't alone either. And I suppose, something my mother always used to say when we were doing the Leaving Cert is, it's not just you doing the Leaving Cert, it's the whole house is doing the Leaving Cert when we have one in the house. So, it is the whole family is on board, really, isn't it?
And like, you can even see from that chat box how hard that, though everything, there was addiction mentioned there, like there's so many things, overwhelmed, school, you not attending school, like that is a lot. This is incredibly challenging stuff. So like, we're probably touching on little tips and bits here, and some of it maybe for some of you, if it's, if your child is not attending school, it's probably another piece of intervention. Hopefully there's tips and tricks we can give you as a parent to even cope a bit better. But just to recognize, Layla said, like, it's really, really hard time. And I think hormonally, even as a teenager, there's so much extra stuff happening that can, make the ADHD traits or symptoms Yeah, heightened or more difficult.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah. We crack on, Michelle.
yeah,
Perfect. Thanks for sharing, everyone. Thanks for being so vulnerable as well and sharing that with us.
yeah, yeah.
So here's a little synopsis of what we're hoping to cover. And again, as Michelle said, myself and Michelle could natter here for about 5 hours on everything. So we're restricted to a time. So we're going to try and it'll be a whistle stop tour, and hopefully there'll be something that people might get from it. But what we're hoping to cover today is building healthy habits. So what we call the foundations, and building some good, like, not playing down some of the basic things that maybe we all know we should be doing, or we know is good for our teenagers. But maybe we forget about them, or they get lost along the way somewhere. Looking at that morning routine, how do you make it a little bit less stressful for our teenager and for ourselves then as a result, so that the teenager isn't going to school and you're not going to work super stressed and anxious, and kind of starting off like the day on a wrong foot. Navigating the school day, so just thinking about how does the young person get to each class and get, use their resources and use their materials to the best way possible that will help them to, do well in school and be the best student that they can be. And then at the end, thinking about making changes and just considering maybe even taking away one thing from this evening that might be one small change, a drop in the ocean, like can lead to a big result over time, or a big change over time. So encouraging people to maybe make a change at the end. So starting off with the first thing here is building our foundations. And this is something that, it can't be overlooked. It's one of the it's the start of everything. Our foundations are, they set us up to be able to, it's kind of the structure of the house, the kind of the nitty-gritty, which can, lead us to put the roof on, which is being more organized, having a better mood and better mental health, being more focused, happier in school, which can help with the overall school performance as well. So what do we mean by foundations? Looking at these different elements. So the first one there, it is a hard one. We do work with young people, so we know how hard the sleep can be for them, and getting them to bed on time and having that bedtime routine and getting up on time in the morning. It's very tricky. We're not going to sugarcoat that one. It comes up a lot for people. But try, 7 to 8 hours is what's recommended for an adult. For a young person, teenagers, probably a bit more sleep is actually required for them. They do need a bit more sleep as they're growing and developing into adults. So, it's trying to find a way to work with them to, maybe fine tune that bedtime routine a little bit. The phones are a huge problem, and, setting a goal with them around maybe trying to get to bed a little bit earlier, kind of bit by bit, maybe if it's 10 minutes earlier to start off with, and kind of going back a little bit as best you can, kind of setting small goals with them to try to get to bed a little bit earlier, try not to be on the screens, thinking about, when they're having their evening meal, not to be having a big heavy meal super late at night. Looking at, sugar intake as well, and just trying to get to bed a little bit earlier, and building on that going forward. Again, acknowledging how hard that is. It's not something they might want to do, but why do it? Why is it important? Well, there's a better chance of them being able to focus in school. It increases your focus. It increases our attention skills. We're less likely to eat unhealthy, sugary foods when we're not tired. And we're less likely to be super impulsive with our decision making as well. So there is benefits to sleep, and there's benefits to try to work on this foundation as best we can. So that's the first one. The next one then is nutrition. And again, a tricky one to encourage the healthy eating. And a lot of young people might not want to eat their vegetables and eat their healthy food and the stuff that they should be eating. But having kind of a balanced diet, and having, fruit and vegetables, and trying to even swap out one of the chocolate bars for an apple or a banana, or, finding something healthy that they do like to eat, and kind of having that in the lunchbox and having that in the school bag. Thinking about the vegetables, lean proteins, whole grains, these kind of fruits and vegetables and carbohydrates that like will help to improve concentration, and overall energy levels as well. Foods rich in antioxidants, like blueberries, can boost brain function. Thinking of walnuts, omega-3s, fatty fish, and to help with brain function is really important as well. And the other thing as well is a lot of our ADHDers that we work with, or young people, they often forget to eat, or things just get, the lunch just comes home again. It just takes a trip to school and home again. So trying to encourage the young people to look, just, what do you like? What will you eat? And kind of meeting them halfway there with what they'd like, and, encourage them to, at meal times, at break times, eat something. Just try and kind of balance the energy levels throughout the day, and try and replace some of the caffeine drinks as well. So nutrition is another one of our foundations. Relationships, again, a tricky one with the young people, but it is one of the most stressful years of a person's life. I think we all remember our own leaving cert. It's traumatic. It's a huge deal for them. So, relationships are really important, and trying to, encourage them to see friends where they can, and keep up those friendships with people, and just trying to, manage our own relationship with them as well, and trying to, take a step back when we need to as well, so that it's not all just kind of clashing with the young person as well, and that we can kind of have the fun with them as well, when we can, and sit down and talk to them, and be able to chat to them when they're able to kind of take it on. So relationships are important as well. Mental rest, then thinking about, what do you mean by this one? That leisure time, that downtime. It's such a long day for, like, you'll never do the hours like you do in school, like from going to school throughout the day, study in the evening. It's a very long day. It's a very draining day. So taking that time for a bit of mental rest, maybe it's lying in their bed, maybe it's, playing a video game mindfully, not for hours. Maybe it's trying to, be mindful with the use of the phone. Like, we can't, all of them are that we work with, and we are mad into social media and their TikTok and Instagram, and trying to encourage mindful use of the phone, like maybe mindfully going on to TikTok and looking at the people who they like to follow, and instead of just scrolling on For You pages, or scrolling on random stories on Instagram, just trying to have mindful use of the phone, and maybe trying to take it off them where we can. Some parents, it can be a battle, but mindfully using the phone, mindfully being on the TV, and watching a TV program, instead of just kind of rotting in front of TV or rotting in a video game, that it's actually kind of intentional. And yeah, just leisure activities, I suppose, that hobbies, nurturing hobbies that they enjoy doing, because it is important to have that work-life balance. And then physical health kind of comes into that as well. It's really important for managing mental health, managing stress, to be active, going out for a walk, and encouraging them to walk the dog if they can, or as much as you can encourage it. Or if they're into the gym, having that like 40 minutes, an hour at the gym if they're into that. And particularly the girls, research shows that the girls tend to give up sport and tend to give up activity as teenagers. So trying to really encourage that, I think, as best you can as well. So yeah, so those are the foundations. Michelle,
so I'm gonna yeah, perfect. And I'm gonna remind us, Ailish, let's even direct our language as if we're talking to young people, because I think that might be useful, because I think we got caught up in the parenting, but I know there's actually a lot of young people.
Yeah.
I'm gonna talk to you guys actually, because you're the reason we're doing this. So with this is a tool, right? This is our first tool, and this is going to be in your resource pack. So like, we've skimmed through those foundations, but like, if you were to meet with one of us, we would really get into that in detail with it. What are those areas? What are you doing in each of those areas? And how can we make the smallest change, as Ailish said, to help you? And this tool links to maybe your mental health. So we would use this a lot with our clients and our young people and yourself, where we might say, look, in a session, where are you sitting now? Are you green? Are you comfortable? Are you in learning zone, challenging? Are you overwhelmed? And the idea is you're starting to get a sense of, where are your emotions at? Are you actually feeling dysregulated like quite a lot during the day? Are you hovering, orange to red quite a lot? And if that is the case, it's very likely then that, yes, like focusing is almost impossible, or perhaps being present in a relationship and making friends is actually really difficult. And you're likely, feeling like you just want to explode. So that's the reality of this. And that's why the school day can just be so overwhelming, because you're just about hanging in there. And this is where, like, I really like Thermometer, because it also identifies that, the places where you feel red, the places where you feel orange, often they are the places that actually aren't maybe adapting or supporting us. And I notice in the chat box, a lot of people are saying, like, school doesn't support me. And that can lead us to feel red. So it's not just because I have ADHD that I go into red zone and I'm not trying. Sometimes it's the fact that my needs aren't being met in the environment I'm in as well. So that's just something to note. But this is a really nice tool we have in our resource pack to just maybe print out, have around the house, and start to check in with yourself in terms of how am I feeling throughout the day, right? And the reason it's important is because you notice how you're feeling, and then you can start to maybe put things in place to help you. If you're orange, how can I bring myself back to yellow? Or how can I get school to change something so that I can come back to yellow? That's kind of what we're trying to do. If you have any questions just about that, just let us know. Sorry, did I just come out of the slide there?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Oh, it's been very slow. Oh, don't know what happened. Okay, sorry about that. Okay. I think it's because we're recording, it's just that little bit slower.
We're back. I think we're back.
Okay, so this leads us nicely onto our morning routine. So, I mean, we talk a lot about the morning and the evening routine because, you know, for us, if you're starting the day, I'm going to use the colors now, but in that red, orange zone, it's unlikely you'll have this, you know, wonderful green day. A lot of the time the morning can shape the day. But unfortunately, we know, you know, it's really hard to get to a good night's sleep. You know, perhaps you've been on your phone all night. So the morning therefore can be tricky. So they're all so interlinked. But look, these are areas that have been identified to us as being tricky. So, you know, getting up on time, remembering to take maybe my medication, a supplement, having enough time to have breakfast, packing my bag, leaving the house on time, getting to school, managing my emotions. So if it's okay, if you had a moment to write in the chat box, you know, are there any of those areas that are particularly tricky for you? So the reason I guess we're talking about this as well is because we see this so often in our sessions that, you know, a young person is coming really frustrated with the fact that maybe mom or dad has to go in and wake them up, you know, time after time after time, and they're getting up fired and red and maybe cursing and shouting. And then the parent is so frustrated because they actually don't want to be maybe nagging all the time, but they're now in that role. Similarly, you know, it's constantly, do you have this? Do you have that? Have you eaten your breakfast? You need to do this. You know, so you end up becoming a bit of a nagger as a parent, and for the young person, you probably feel completely frustrated. So we would often talk to people, you know, using this idea of, okay, can we maybe come up with an idea of what are your responsibilities as the parent and young person, you know, what are your responsibilities? Can we have an agreement that maybe if mum wakes me up, mum puts on my timer and it buzzes 10 minutes later, but that is my responsibility then to get up. And if I don't, then I'm late and I take the burden of that. So it's really hard because it involves maybe your parent slightly stepping back sometimes. And then it involves you maybe taking ownership of that if you're wanting to see the change. So it's just something that we would find useful having that conversation, and we'd often facilitate it, but it could be something you could do at home if you feel like you have that open relationship. But I'm noticing a lot of people are saying all of them. Yeah, so maybe by the end of the webinar, there might just be one that you'll think, right, I'm going to focus on that this week and see if I can make change in it. So we're going to pause now. This is the second tool, which is in our toolkit. So it's a short movement break. So Ailish spoke about physical health before, but we know movement helps focus. Movement releases dopamine. It makes us feel better. So, you know, as OTs, and I know someone actually wrote in the chat box about movement breaks, we often chat a bit about movement breaks because what we notice is with our young people, particularly with ADHD, if you're sitting for long periods, which school makes us do, so it's really hard to maintain your focus. If you move a little bit, take a break, come back, you might have better focus after. So it doesn't work for everyone, but for some people it can be brilliant. So an example of this, it can really be anything what you like doing. But for example, I'm going to invite us all to shake. So I'm going to invite you to bring your hands in the air, maybe shake it out like you're shaking water off your hands. If it's useful, take a few quicker breaths because we're trying to wake ourselves up here so we can focus in the webinar. You might sigh it out, shake it out. Now you might do this for a minute and that actually might be enough. Ideally kind of standing. You might do, I have a few young people that do push-ups. and then we'll bring ourselves back to the webinar. So personally, like I feel a little bit more awake, but it's just noticing that change in your body. And that's kind of the premise, I guess, around movement breaks. But then it's about the next step, which we'll talk about. How do I maybe incorporate that into my school day, if school allow it, and things like that?
Yeah, so the next slide here is all about navigating the school day. And if we could, maybe if anyone wants to pop into the chat box there on how organized you feel at school. So one is like no organization, all we to know what's classes next, what their timetable is like, what books we need for what. Someone's got 0. Wow, really fast. 10 is like we're super organized. We're nearly more organized than the teachers. And maybe if you're at 10, maybe you could help us give the webinar. But I'm seeing more numbers of more 2s, 3s, 5. Okay, so we're kind of on the lower end of the smiley faces. The smiley faces aren't really smiling from what people are answering. And again, maybe just think, so how, like, we're here to try and like come up with tonight with some concrete ways to make some little changes to make school a little bit easier for you. So thinking about figuring out where the issue is, even if that could be something that you can do this evening, is kind of figuring out some of the main points that are a problem. Then that's where we can make change, then when we know where the issues are. So is it homework? Is it knowing when/where our classes are? Knowing what books I need for class, what books I need to bring home. With the change into senior cycle, like there can be a lot of changes from junior cycle, like classrooms might be different, might be on a different side of the school. We might need different books for different subjects that we mightn't have done before in junior cycle. The locker is a big one, and we'll be talking more about that in a little while. I had one young fellow I was working with, and for an entire year he never used his locker once, so it gathered dust somewhere. So kind of, are we making use of our tools and use of our the resources that we have to hand? And systems of folders and copies, and again, people have different ways of using their folders and copies, and we might kind of talk a little bit more about that as well as we go on. So just thinking about what are some of the areas there that maybe we're having difficulty with, and how well or how not so well is it going. So we have here this little picture of the 3 main parts of our environment that come up in sessions that myself and Michelle do with a lot of young people who we work with. The first one is the locker in school. As I mentioned, one guy never once used his locker and used 3 school bags because of course his school bags couldn't handle the weight of all the books for the whole year. So are we making good use of our locker in school? So the next point in our environment is the school bag, the carrier, the vessel, if you will, of all of our school belongings. Are we making good use of our school bag? And our study space as well. What's our study space like? Where is our study space? And kind of knowing where the best place for me to study is, and kind of building that environment and making it suitable for me. So those are the 3 areas that we're going to go into a little bit more detail on. So number 1 is the locker. The location of the locker. Where is it? Is it really far away that it's hard to get to, that I don't give myself enough time to get to it? Can it be moved? The time I go to the locker is a big one as well. So, do I need to let teacher let me out for an extra 5 minutes before class starts, so that I can go to my locker a little bit earlier, before there's a mad rush, before the corridors are full? I might be kind of overwhelmed with the sensory experiences around me. There might be lots of sounds, people bumping into me, and it might kind of distract me and distract my focus on my task at hand to go to the locker and get my Irish, my French, and my music books. So looking at the times I go to the locker, having some students that we work with have set times, which works really well in the morning, in the middle of the day, and at the end of the day, where they get each kind of 3 blocks and they get books for those 3 blocks. The size of the locker, Michelle, I remember, was telling me about a student of hers who had a musical instrument, and there was a bit of a stress then of minding her instrument and all her music bits and all her school books as well. So getting a bigger locker kind of helped her, or maybe the Hurleys and the bags and all the gear stuff as well. Can we get a bigger space to mind our things, if that's possible? System within the lockers then, often the bottom of the locker can be full of treasures. Having labels and folders. So, I've one guy I'm working with, and he has a folder in his locker for all of his copies. So all of his copies go in there. And then I have another guy I was talking to recently who was talking about having different folders, so those little plastic pocket sheets or folders. And like he put all his math stuff in one, so the textbook, copybook, maybe math set, or other kind of bits of equipment that he needs for each subject. That worked really well for him. And just kind of having a system within the locker that kind of keeps things organized. Things don't fall at the very back. Handouts don't get scrunched at the back. They have a folder, they have a place to go, and trying to kind of be strict on putting things into the place that they're meant to be. So maybe if we're not strict at that time, maybe that means we need more time at the locker. So maybe we need to ask for that 5 minutes to go to the locker, or try and maybe go pick our time where we go where it might be quieter and our friends aren't around to distract us, or there isn't loads of people around to distract us. Or thinking, the last point there is, do I need help? Is there a support person in school, an SNA or a teacher, or somebody who could actually help me manage my locker and help me to kind of, clarify if I've got everything I need from the locker. So that's some of the tips for use of the locker.
And just to throw in there, with like, there's a young person I'm working with where that's her friend, she didn't want to get help because she's embarrassed. So it's a friend who she just says, hey, remind me what I need. And, the friend just reminds her, and that's actually worked well. So yeah, sometimes it can be more discreet. It doesn't have to be very obvious help.
Yeah, just a friend, just say, what have you got there? Yeah, I must bring mine as well. Having a buddy to tag off. That's a really good suggestion, Michelle. Next one here is the school bag. So again, kind of timing of when do I pack my school bag? This comes up a lot in sessions as well. It can be a battle with mom and dad or our guardians of packing the school bag and knowing where things are in the morning of school. We're just about to go out the door. We realize everything's all over the place. So, one of a young guy I'm working with, one of the things that we worked on was that he needed a prompt. He tried to pack his bag himself, but he'd either kind of get distracted by when he was playing video games in the evening after homework, or he was playing rugby, and he never managed to get the bag packed. So we realized that when we think about that earlier slide, he needed a support person. So thinking about who would your support person be, and how do we kind of do it in a way, I saw someone in the chat box say their young person, if they're asked to do something, they'll do the opposite. So it's negotiating who's responsible for what. So this guy I was working with, his mom just said in a neutral, objective tone at I think it was 10 to 7 was when we decided it would be, we agreed together that was the time he'd do it. Mom just said school bag, and that's it. We didn't say pack your school bag. There was no tone. It was just school bag. It was like an alarm going off. I need to pack my school bag, and then I can play my video games. And it's trying to build that into a habit and get it consistent over time, so it becomes a habit. And it's something then that you can learn how to do, hopefully without your parent reminding you to pack your school bag, and finding a time that suits. Are you a morning person? Are you an evening person? And picking a time then to pack your bag. Using pockets and having different areas in your bag where things go. The homework journal, one of the young people I'm working with, we've decided the front pocket is for the homework journal, has to go there, so we always know where that is. And I have another person I work with who has a fidget pocket in her school bag. So if anyone here likes fidget toys or kind of finds those useful in school, she's a little pocket with all her favorite fidget tools, so that she knows where they are if she needs them in class. And again, the do I need help part comes into it. Do I need a teacher, at the other side of school to kind of make sure my bag is packed, or a friend, as Michelle suggests, which is a really good idea, just to make sure we've kind of coordinated what's in the school bag. Or at the other side of it, then at home side, a parent, or even a sibling, or someone who you could help you make sure the bag is fully packed.
And we really see the benefit of the labels.
Yeah.
I notice a lot, and even if they're discreetly inside a zipper, but the label is just a reminder. Oh yeah, that same journal needs to go in here, or this book.
Everything having its place, and then if something's missing. Isn't that it, Michelle?
Like everywhere, like labels at home, labels on the shelf, labels in the drawers,
the lockers.
Consistency with that as a tool in a way. Yeah, really, really good. So look, it leads us on to another tool, the third tool this evening, which is noticing and managing distractions. So focus, I noticed, came up there a few times in the chat box. And often, what is taking our focus away from maybe the classroom or even from this webinar is often because we are, our senses are stimulated, and our focus is taken and drawn to something else, drawn towards a different sense. So often with ADHD, your sensory system might work a bit differently. And you might notice, and you may not, but you might notice that you might be a little bit more sensitive to maybe noise or to, touch or people rubbing against you, or perhaps you're a little bit more sensitive to things around you. Someone might walk past you and you're distracted from a conversation. So that's how your senses can distract you. So I'm going to go through them now in the context of you're sitting at home now, probably watching this webinar. Let's go through this as a tool with the idea then that maybe, you could start to put it in action for those of you who are noticing your focus is tricky, maybe during the school day or in class. So the first one there is what you can see. So if you look around the computer, the laptop, whatever, is there clutter? Is there a phone that's distracting you, buzzing? Are there notes? Maybe it's pictures on the wall reminding you of something. All of these things act as a stimuli visually, and some of us more than others might be drawn to them and therefore distracted. Similarly, in the classroom, it could look like if you sit at a window, you tend to look out the window and get distracted, or perhaps if you sit at the back, you get distracted by people in front of you. There's also another element to this, that if you're feeling maybe, and I noticed anxiety came up a few times there in the chat box, if we're anxious or feeling very low or sad in school, our senses can also be heightened. And that can affect, your visual stimuli. If I sit at the front of the class, I'm worried about what everyone's thinking of me. So, I'm looking around me. So it's quite complex, the sensory piece, but we try and weave it into our sessions and try and support people to put this into place in school. Anyway, to come back to it. So noticing then the second one there is our sense of what you can feel in your body. So, you might notice you're fidgeting on your chair. Maybe you're standing tonight, you're sitting, perhaps you're fidgeting with something in your hand. So Ailish mentioned a fidget tool. And this links to our sense maybe of, it kind of links to our sense of movement. But if you're someone who notices that you're wiggly and you're jiggly, or your body temperature affects you a lot, then perhaps that's something to think about during your school day as well. Do I need to have this fidget tool pocket in my bag? Do I need to have access to a movement break so I can get up and move from my seat quite often, more than maybe other students? Okay, thinking about then your auditory sense. So some people are super distracted by noises. Other people love noise in the background. In the classroom, we're instructed to be quiet, and that doesn't work for everyone. And unfortunately, that's where the environment, we can't really change that. A lot of people I work with are really heightened actually by the noise in the corridors, and it's overwhelming for them. So you could go between, no noise, really a lot of noise, and that can make us feel red on the thermometer. So where possible, I guess this tool is to just tune into noises, how they affect you. Then we have the taste. So, I work with a lot of people who maybe chew chewing gum, drink fizzy water, eat crackers while they study because they notice it helps them focus better. Maybe smells. Some of the smells can be really distracting, food, candles, things like that. So just being aware, that's probably more related to home environment. And then the last one there is the sense of movement. So stretching, breath work. As I said before, it releases dopamine. It will activate and support us to focus better, all of us. So there is merit to say, if we can, where possible, take a movement break during the times of the day where you start to notice you're hovering in that orange zone. It might just help you. So it's using your senses to best support you in your morning, in your school day. So this is probably something to just kind of tease over again. Like, you can apply it to any situation, but I'd urge you to kind of think about it maybe during your school day as well, or tease it out with a support person. So it kind of leads us nicely onto our study space and the classroom. So like Ailish has led us kind of through maybe organizing ourselves throughout the school day, and a lot of people would come to us and say in session, when I'm in the classroom or when I sit down to study, I don't even know how to organize my space. So this is where that sensory piece is really useful, because we know a clear desk, adapting the noise to meet your needs, and having the snacks, doing a bit of movement, you are most likely to set yourself up for a more successful study session. And I mean, a lot of people we work with would attend after school study, and they find that works well, because I guess there's accountability to that, isn't there? And I have, but then other people find it awful, horrendous, torture. So they choose to study at home. So that's where trying to create that home environment that really is associated with study, and it facilitates the ability to kind of sit and focus as much as possible. So that might be something you do with your support person, a parent, to try and figure out what that is like for you. But yeah, I would definitely say if there's anything you take from this, it would be to sit down as much as possible to clear the desk and have your to-do list beside you.
So planning a study session. So this can be something that's really tricky for you guys. And the other thing to think about as well is it's a quite a high level skill to be organizing and planning your study session. So it's a skill that you're still developing. And don't be too hard on yourself with it either, because it does take a little bit of time to learn how to do. So the first thing we recommend is to check in with this thermometer that we've been talking about throughout this evening. And that's just to see how am I feeling right now? I'm just home from school. I've had a busy day. I need to start now with homework and study. How do I feel? Am I in the red and orange zone? And if so, now with this moment in time, I'm not ready to sit down just yet. I have to do something before I sit down, and that's to try and bring my stress levels down. So, maybe that's just taking a moment to maybe go for a little walk, or, get some fresh air, or just do something, for a few minutes that might just bring your energy levels down. Maybe having a movement break, doing, a bit of mindfulness, or listening to something on YouTube or on Spotify, something that might just help calm you down and bring you back into the green zone. Nothing that's too distracting, like not going on social media or, spending hours watching TV. It's just something in the moment that if I'm still a bit stressed after school, that I can just bring myself down. I had one guy who liked to just, sit in the sitting room on his own for a couple of minutes after school, and maybe just, the room is kind of dark. It was a bit of a quiet room to just sit and decompress for a couple of minutes before he started into study. So just thinking about creatively about what you yourself would like to do after school, just to kind of make yourself feel, maybe it's having a snack, maybe it's having some water, whatever it is to bring your energy or bring your stress levels a little bit down. Then we need to check our journal and thinking about what our tool is to record our homework, making sure it's all on one page. Like there's nothing worse than writing it in different pages or notes, or in the front on a page in your textbook, and forgetting what page you wrote your homework in. Having it on, as Michelle said, having it on either a piece of paper, in your homework diary, maybe ideally, or if you're using it like an iPad or something, or even online system in school, Teams, and just check in to see, what do I need to do? What is on my list of homework items? Then setting clear actions and goals. So what do we mean by this? So it's probably not enough to just say do English, or biology. Actually specifically write out what you have to do. So maybe it's short questions on respiratory biology. Maybe it is write essay on poetry, comparative poetry for English, whatever the homework task is, but actually writing it out so that you know what you have to do in that evening of study. So they're clear and you know exactly what you have to do. And we have some resources as well that might help, kind of tools to, make a to-do list, which we will share with you afterwards. What are your top 3 priorities? So thinking about what has to be done this evening, like what is due tomorrow that I need to get done this evening, and starting with those be the top 3 things that you do, and not having a list that's too big. Maybe just start with those 3 things and get them done, and maybe then add to it if you've time. Setting realistic times is the other thing. If you maybe take an hour to do maths, it might not be realistic to put down 15 minutes, or allot that 15 minutes, or put loads of things on if you know that it's going to take a long time to do maths. So maybe if we're not always very good at setting realistic times, and if maybe homework takes us longer than it should, maybe we do need to just consult with a parent, and parents might help support the young person to kind of set realistic times in a very neutral, objective way, asking a question. Do you think that's enough time for the maths? Not in a kind of, that's not enough time. Just, a conversation to help the young person, or help you to manage figuring out your time a little bit better. And maybe, so that brings us to the last one, checking in with your support person. So asking the parent or a friend or sibling, maybe an older sibling who's good at it, to kind of help you, keep you accountable as well with your homework planning and your study session as well. So those are some tips that work for some of our students that we work with.
And I might just jump in about the time, actually, because it comes up so much for us time and time again, where I think what we would notice is that, sorry, someone said the sound is gone. I think hopefully you can hear this. But I'll just keep going. But we were saying, okay, perfect. So what we would notice with the time piece is to start to become really aware, of how you use your time. And actually, some people on this call, you're probably not even sitting down to study at all, and maybe time is being wasted on the phone, or maybe you're someone who loves sport and you're out until 8 in the evening doing sports. Actually, you don't have time to do much homework. Maybe you have 30 minutes and that's your study session. So I often urge people to, or maybe we do it in session, or you might do it with a parent, to sit down and think, look at your week and map out your use of time. When can you actually study? Like, when are your pockets? And if you're someone who's studying not at all, it's non-existent, I would say set yourself a 20-minute window goal, maybe not even every day. Let's be realistic, not studying at all. But if you're someone who's studying a little bit, then figuring out, okay, can I be more efficient with those little blocks? Hoping everyone can hear me okay.
I think people can hear you.
Okay. Sorry, just to reiterate that now, a bit of time. Yeah, it just comes up so much for us. Actually, and the use of like a little egg timer, that can be brilliant. So, like, there's someone I worked with who was saying, oh, I only need 30 minutes for, like, let's say those short questions of biology. They'd set their timer and realize they were so kind of getting so distracted that 30 minutes would pass and they hadn't even, started. So they realized, oh, wow, I am distracted for 30 minutes. It's so useful to gain awareness over that. So those little leg timers can be brilliant. Get them on Amazon.
Okay. Thanks, Michelle.
So it kind of leads us on to the school piece. So, I mean, this is your choice individually, whether or not you are linking in with school, you want to. And I'm sure now there are people on this call, and I think I saw that at the start, where you're linking in, but they're not necessarily very supportive. And this is why it's a tricky one, because look, in an ideal world, the school would meet our needs, and you as a young student would be supported better and you'd probably function better. Unfortunately, some schools maybe don't have enough awareness of ADHD, or some of the schools just don't simply have the resources, or the capacity, or the space, whatever it might be, the environment. So where possible though, like, we work a lot with schools. I have to say, I mean, I do find schools, I actually would find them quite good once we really clearly specify what we need. So I would say to you, like, if you're thinking you're going to talk to school, or you have talked to them, I would just advise you to maybe bullet point your exact needs and exactly what you would like school to do in bullet points. So real basic. And then just say, this is exactly what I need. What can you do? And see what actually can be offered. So the examples are, a card, using a card maybe that you flash or move and break, or simply that the teachers know Michelle's allowed to take a move break when she raises their hand, and that's enough. Or it might be that, I'm allowed to have fidgets in class, and that might be something discreet in my pocket because maybe I'm embarrassed, but I'm allowed, it's known. It might be encouraging teachers to all the teachers, it's a real write homework on the board. So instead of some of them saying it, some writing it, half writing it, we all write it because Michelle needs that, and I need it bullet pointed on the board. Or else, if you use Teams or whatever it is, it's a consistent instruction. Jump in, Ailish, if you think of other stuff. There's so many. A quiet space in school if it's available. That's a big one. I have a young person who started to use that. And again, like, as an OT, I mean, I got the school to send me a photo of it. I went through it with a young person in session. Where would you sit in the quiet space? So we're getting so detailed about how to use these supports in school. Where would you go when you're moving break? What's your movement? Is it in the toilet? Are you doing a press up? What are you doing that actually feels useful for you as a young person? So yeah, being really specific.
I had a young person who they were exempt from Irish, and during the Irish class they were allowed to go to the library, and it was a quiet space for them to sit, and actually they were allowed to just listen to music for maybe 20 minutes and then do a little bit of homework for 20 minutes. So it's so specific to each student and to all of you here in the call.
Yeah, exactly. So look, it's something that hopefully, like, I do hope your school can support you more. And obviously then there's the resource help if you want to go for that, where I have someone who kind of floats around the room, and when it is homework time, it's not every class, it's the more trickier classes. They might just check and say, do you have that down? And but they're kind of, it looks like they're floating to everyone, but they're kind of there for this young person. So it's kind of leading us towards the end of the webinar. So it's coming up to our tool. So I'm kind of conscious of the time. So look, this tool, I mean, we love this tool as OTs, but it's really nice. Like, we've given you loads of information. We haven't gone into mass detail on any of it really, but we've given you lots of information. So hopefully there's something that you think, okay, that's something I could change. So I'd start with that, whether it's something about the morning, something about your school day, whether it's, you know, taking a movement break, accessing more help at school, having a conversation with your parent, or if you're a parent with your young person about the responsibilities piece. Yeah, whatever it is, maybe changing a diet. That's your goal, and that goes at the top of our ladder. And what we're looking at, we're not going to achieve that goal tomorrow, right? So this tool is a nice way of thinking, what is the very next step? So, you know, is it that I just need to figure out what movement I like? Is it that I need to figure out, I just need to sit with that thermometer and figure out when I'm going into the orange zone? So we're thinking basic one step. Do I need to print out the thermometer? Maybe that's your goal. Maybe that's your action. So always bring it back. If you think it's an action, think, actually, is there an easier action to that? Because that's probably the realistic step for you. But yeah, we'd love just if there was one goal from tonight and you had one action to kind of work on over the week. I think that's brilliant. So we have a resource. Sorry, Ailish, do you want to add anything?
No, that's perfect. That's absolutely perfect.
And we have a resource pack that we've put together. We'll send out with those tools that 1, 2, 3, and 4 that we've been going through. So yeah, you could print them out, have them at home if it's useful. There's a study planner in there. You might like your own study planner though. Like, as OTs, we often individualize it. So I would say adapt to your own needs and kind of visually what you like, all that, how many lines.
It's just an example. It's just an
Yeah.
example. So like, you can play around with it.
Yeah, exactly. And look, we're going to finish with just one last pause. So we talk a lot about compassion because, you know, we've seen tonight, this is all, it's hard, you know, what everyone's going through, whether you're a parent or a young person, is really hard. And I would believe everyone is trying a lot, because you're here tonight, you've just given up an hour in your evening to actually try and get help, you know, so that says you are really trying probably the best you can right now with the resources you have. So we're going to take a little pause, and I just want us to acknowledge that, a kind pause. So I'm going to invite you to, this can be different for everyone. I'm going to invite you to place a hand on your heart and maybe one hand on your belly. I'm going to close my eyes. You don't have to. This is all just an invitation. And just a little moment here. This is our compassionate action. So we're just connecting to ourselves. So I'm going to invite you to connect to your body now. Notice your heart, notice your breathing, just offering yourself a little moment here of kindness, a little moment of connection, of noticing your body. You might actually choose even, you know, a more grounding movement, which would be a hug. So like self-hug, squeeze, if that's useful. And then we're going to just think about compassionate word or kind word you can say to yourself. And this might be something like, look, I really am doing the best I can. And step by step, things will begin to get easier. You know, I'm only one person here and I'm really trying. I care deeply. You know, I deserve for things to change. So we want to feel this sense of hope and kindness. So it's what you would say to someone you care about, what you would say to a loved one, but you're offering it to you, to yourself. So just hold that for a moment, hold that kindness. Whenever you're ready, I'll just invite you to come back. Unfortunately, I'm speeding through our compassionate moment, which I don't love to do because I mean this is so important. But yeah, if we can have a little sprinkle of this, you know, in the morning, if it's one moment where you just say, okay, I've got this, you know, I'm doing the best I can, on with my day, it takes 1 second. Over time, that can be a really lovely thing to be doing for ourselves. And it can change maybe the way you think about yourself, the way you talk to yourself. So we just wanted to finish with that today. So look, thank you all so much for being here and, you know, for your chat. We'll hopefully have a few minutes. There's our contact details, our Instagram. Yeah, reach out if you have any more questions, and we'll have a look now at the chat box as well.
Yeah, there's a few questions already in.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, so the resource material we'll send it to Nicola and stuff, and with it'll be emailed out to you.
Can any young person with ADHD get an exemption for? I think it depends. Michelle, is it like, is there? I think it's meant to be there's two challenges a person has.
Yeah, I do work with a lot of people who have an exemption, but a lot of people
You
who
do.
have a diagnosis of autism as well. I'm actually not 100% certain, so I don't want to say yes
Yeah,
or
I
no.
don't want to give wrong information either, but some of not everybody, some people who come to us for whatever reason have an exemption. But it's worth,
Yeah,
if you feel like maybe it needs to be worth exploring, maybe ask the school about it.
like it's definitely tricky to get. I'm not
Mm.
gonna lie, I know that much.
It's got harder, I think. I think they've
Yeah.
changed rules about it recently enough. Lots of nice thank yous, appreciate it.
That's really frustrating for someone who's saying that the school's refusing to accept diagnosis. And see, that's where, unfortunately, we would find like it's so unfortunate because you're saying great stuff maybe as a parent, and then like I might come in as an OT and school might just listen because I'm a healthcare professional, and it's just so frustrating for everyone actually because that it takes that. And sometimes it does, like if you could get the GP to write a letter, or if you're linked to an OT, or if there was someone who could advocate as well, that might be useful if you haven't done that already. And again, with the specifics, what we need.
There was a question as well up a little bit further that I'd spotted, Michelle, from a young person here. Oh yeah, here it is from Catherine. I find that I won't work on my homework that is due the next day, and I work on stuff that is due for the following week. What can I do? Well, first of all, you're acknowledging it. You're here this evening, Catherine. You're acknowledging it. You're recognizing this is something that isn't working for me. So that's brilliant. Maybe thinking about sitting down with a support person to go through your study plan for the day, and actually having somebody to kind of help you with your plan, and with that organizing of the week, looking at what does the week look like, what's due today, what might be due next week, what do I need to thinking of my top 3 things to prioritize, and maybe getting a support person to kind of help you to be accountable with that, and to help you kind of prompt you to get that done. That works for some people that we work with. Any other suggestions, Michelle?
Yeah, like I think the priorities, I'd be really breaking down what it is that's due next week and popping it in, looking at my whole weekly routine maybe and figuring out, is there one time of one day in the week where that kind of longer term piece has to be fitted in. And try to be consistent with that time and day. With a little even reminder on my phone, or
phone reminders can be good as well. But the fact that you recognize it is great, Catherine.
It's great, and that you're here.
Set that as your goal, maybe.
Sorry, also just to jump in, I've actually just shared a link there to a feedback form. If people had took a second, it'd be so helpful. It's literally just a scale. It's just there. I can share it again now, but it would be just amazing to fill it in for us, because we're kind of going in with a topic, but actually if people were saying something else you'd rather learn about, way more detail on that, let's say morning routine, that could be a webinar in itself. It's so useful for us to know.
It guides us with making our material and stuff as well.
So we'd really appreciate that.
Thank you. Thanks for all of the lovely feedback so far.
Just trying to think, were there any questions we missed? I love the pause moments. I'm a big fan of all those pause moments. A few people said that. So someone asked about someone who can help with dyslexia. I don't. You could reach out to. I can't even think now. If you drop me a message, if you email me on my website, I can maybe have a think about that and get back to you. Action and goal setting. We do a lot of that. We just gave you that one tool there with the ladder, but for Hillary there, we would really breaking down things into steps. I only went into it a tiny bit, but that's what the action piece supports, the kind of momentum and the avoiding procrastination, but it's really getting that action piece right. So really breaking down what you have to do into a step. And keeping it so small, like I said, like if it's 10 minutes of study, isn't that great if you've been doing nothing? You know, really keeping it small goals. Extra time. So I work with loads of students now with ADHD who get extra time in the leaving cert exam. So that's again, that would have to go through the school to figure all that out.
Yeah, definitely talk to school, and you know it's good time of the year now to kind of go in while it's early days and kind of advocate and make it be known.
Yeah. It's really hard if the school, like a few people are saying the school are kind of send you back to GP, and it could be worth like, yeah, if there's no resource person or there's no maybe good or like a guidance counselor that you're linking in with, that's probably where I'd advocate for OT, because we work a lot with schools. So it might be worth kind of looking into that.
And yeah, someone asked, is it being recorded? It is being recorded. Yeah, it was recorded. So, oh, Nicola popped something in.
Sorry, I guess.
Might be student tour. Oh yeah.
Sorry, people are talking about the extra time in exams. You're probably reading it there.
I'm just thinking here, Nicola popped in a message asking for his IEP student support plan meeting. The report that a student agrees to and the school can offer. The school says they make the plan, no involvement from parents or students. I'm not sure I understand that.
Feel free to chat, Nicola, if there's something that you feel, yeah.
No, it was just one of the questions there, and it was just, we've had this before.
I don't understand the question.
It's basically what they're saying, I think, is Jane B. She was actually just saying that any advice and actually talking to the school about an IEP or a student support plan where the student actually wants to do it, and the school says they don't actually have any plan. They don't ever do an involvement with the parents or students.
Oh, sorry, I misread. Okay.
And student has ADHD and autism, has previously been at flight risk and runs home when super overwhelmed. No SNA, no resources, no movement breaks.
I mean, that's incredibly hard. So
yeah.
So it's the questions around, advice for the parent on how to get the school to do something.
Where the student actually wants help as well, you know, because normally you can get it where the student doesn't want help, but they actually do.
And the school aren't helping. Is that what?
That's very hard. That's very hard, because I mean, yeah, I'd be really having work if I was working with that school. That's to offer no help at all. Like if you have any mental health care professionals, I'd be getting them all involved to have maybe a meeting.
And I just as I am,
should be supporting. Yeah,
I have information there just from a point of view of what, you know, the child or the young person should be getting. You know, they have some good resources as well, in advocacy. That's really awful, and really stressful.
First time I've heard it. So that's why I said it, pass it through there.
Yeah, thanks for flagging that, Nicola.
Yeah, like I mean, if you have any reports or anything, or any professionals who've done your reports, I'd probably be getting people to be sending more reports or, you know, requesting things, because I mean, it's your right to have support. That's really not fair that it's so difficult. It's just terrible.
And it's very exhausting and draining as a parent to have to keep trying to advocate. Like that's really, really tough.
I think that's good advice. Sorry, Emer just said that the board of management going higher with us, because it's really not acceptable.
I haven't personally experienced much of that, so thanks, Emer, for that. That's really helpful. Yeah, absolutely. Once there's a report and diagnosis, there needs to be supports.
Yeah, like Cindy made a good point there. A student who doesn't actually want help but needs it. Oh, it's really tricky. I mean, it's really tricky. Like, if, yeah, it's creating aware, like if there's any hints that maybe coming in from that emotional piece around, are, you know, are they absolutely grand? If they're grand emotionally, they don't care at all and everything's fine, or is there a part there where they're struggling internally as well, and that it's, you know, they're masking, or they're not pretending like things are difficult? I don't know, that might be something to check in with.
Yeah. Or if there's a support teacher in school who could have a conversation, a teacher who they like, maybe, who could talk to them about maybe getting more support. Sometimes, maybe, as someone else said in the webinar, when a parent says something to them they don't want to listen, maybe having a teacher talk to them who might be they trust and who they like might be helpful.
Or if they will talk to an external, someone completely different mental health.
Yeah, just to get that feedback and have that space to talk about it.
I'm just conscious of time, so we should probably but look, thank you all so much on behalf of myself and Ailish. It's just been thanks for all the feedback. It's been really great, and thank you, Nicola, for having us along tonight as well.
Yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you very much, girls. We will see you again. Excellent as usual. Great feedback. And thanks to everyone who came along. It's late in the evening. It's hard to do. And there's a lot of information there. Slides are coming. The recording will come to you. And thank you very much. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Bye, bye, bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, bye.